And here we are, once again, brought to you by Criticold, which sounds weird when you say it that way, but this is Kev, and I have Noah with me.
Yes. Noah Nichols.
Noah Nichols. The alliteration and the man with the backwards name, here to talk to you about a movie called Barbarian.
Yeah.
Where to begin? Well, we should probably first start with some facts about the movie, like how it was directed by a former whitest kid that you know, now one of the whitest men that you may know.
A former whitest?
Is that bad? I've been getting clipped out of context a lot lately, and I have a feeling it's going to happen to me again.
Can you say that? That's whitest.
He is the whitest kid you know. That's whitest. And who else was it? Justin Long was in this.
Yes.
You have IMDb up handy, right? Can you help me with the rest of the cast, because the actors need, I believe there was a Skarsgård involved, but the actress specifically, she needs to be shouted out here.
Tess. The main character's name was Tess, and her name is Georgina Campbell.
Georgina?
How do you pronounce that?
Is it? No, I was asking. Is it George?
Yeah, and Bill Skarsgård, who is
Bill.
Is Pennywise.
Pennywise,
yes.
Right. It's crazy. Keith. I was like, wait, that's not the one that was in The Northman, right? Because actors these days, I could almost believe it. Like, did he lose 60 pounds for this role?
Yeah, I did. But
it was his brother that was in The Northman, right? Yeah.
Yes. And the mother, which was the monster's name, was actually played by a man. Which I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, so it's a good job with the makeup and all the prosthetics. So,
yes.
Matthew Patrick Davis.
Which is very good, and probably a great point in time for us to mention that there will be full spoilers here.
Yes.
And they'll probably happen pretty early. So if you haven't watched it, I will just say quickly, I think it's worth a watch. If you stay and listen until the end, you might be surprised to hear me say that now. But, hey, that's just the kind of guy that I am. Watch it for yourself so you can find the things that you like about it before I give you all of my nitpicks.
Yes.
But I would say that I would watch it. We watched it on a discount day, which is what I suggest you do. Find it at a $5 if you've got one. It probably won't be here much longer. Noah, what about you? Do you suggest this?
I suggest, I mean, you could wait till it comes out on streaming, which it probably will soon. But it's, I don't know. I think it's worth seeing in the theater. I mean, I've seen it. This was my third time just because I saw it with someone else and then on my own. And it's a type of movie that you want to talk about with someone because there's a lot to explore.
I agree with that.
And let me, before we get right into everything, the quick log line. The log line is a woman staying at an Airbnb discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. So that's a very kind of broad generalization.
Love that log line. That's all that it is?
Yeah, that's all that it is.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do more of that, movies and log line writers.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And that was great. And I would also say, again, if you're for some reason still here and you haven't watched it yet, I would do what I did, which was to go in cold, no trailer whatsoever, because with that... Which is honestly, if you already know you want to see a movie, there's no reason to watch the trailer. Because there are things that for some reason get shown in trailers that maybe don't. The movie worked so much better for me, despite my upcoming gripes, because I had no expectations of it. So I was taken along for the ride that they wanted me to go along, despite other things that I noticed and picked up on. Like, I did get carried along for the first act thing.
Yeah.
And I was very suspicious. There was a nice red herring played along early on. Yeah. And so that stuff was well done. So we're definitely going to talk about the well done things here. But yeah, I've got some issues. But yeah, so what else? Is there anything else? Cast, crew, log line. We covered all the basics. I think now it's probably time to start getting into the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
right?
let's get nitty gritty. The only thing is, we can talk about more, but shooting locations, 2 places: Detroit, Michigan, and Bulgaria.
That is important, actually. Yeah, I do think that's an important thing to mention, because that is especially on this show an aspect that we're going to talk about. Because while this is not an indie movie, we're going to be talking about them a lot. And this has an indie vibe to it, and it was created by an independent filmmaker of sorts with Krieger.
Who was kind of struggling to sell it because, like, you read a thing that I
Right.
didn't even know about.
Yes. Actually, I'll mention that briefly. So you mentioned the 2 shooting locations, and I can talk to you about how, according to Samantha Burgezon of IndieWire, Zach Krieger said that making the movie was almost impossible. He made a spreadsheet of every production company that had made a horror movie in the last 15 years and sent it out to all of them, and it being the script, and every one of them said no. Krieger told Vulture, so this is really, we're in like the inception of reporting here, and the now viral hit film. They didn't like the movie resets on page 50, which is something we will talk about. They didn't like that there's a character who's part of Hollywood.
Yep.
And they said, trigger warning here for bad words, last warning, nobody wants to follow a rapist for 30 pages, which is something that we'll talk about. It's kind of a spoiler for sure, but not really. We haven't really gotten into any of it yet. So all 3 of these I will mention now because they're going to get brought up again. These were in my notes, so it made me feel a little less crazy when I had these gripes. But then again, it also goes to show, as Noah pointed out before the show, and as this article pointed out, the hit it's done well. So in a sense, all of those production studios were wrong. Even though, on one hand, I felt right for being like, this is weird, how did this happen? And then apparently everyone else said, this is weird, we're not doing this. But then, hey, it worked. Like,
it did work. And not only were production companies incorrect because it was kind of, I wouldn't say a runaway success, it was more of like, almost like a Paranormal Activity surprise. They didn't expect it to do that well. It was number 1 in the movie theaters in the first weekend. And then it did the typical fall off. But, it did take kind of things by storm. But what I wanted to say is that a big actor turned down the role of AJ. Justin Long was not the first choice, which I think Justin Long made that movie. Without him, it would have been almost dead in the water because he carried that second act. I know people didn't want to follow, and I know they whittled that down because in scripts you whittle down on the the movie time, but the first choice was Zac Efron to play AJ, and he turned it down. And
I can see why.
Yes, and it caused Krieger to rethink the role, and he offered it to Justin Long, who accepted and loved the script. So it changed everything about that movie.
And which is funny because I didn't know that, and that is great to know, and it really did. And you are right, he does carry it despite the character that he plays, that character's flaws, and it really. We'll get into it as we get into the plot, but I can see why Zac Efron passed on that. But I also, as soon as I saw Justin Long on the screen, another perk of exactly. I popped.
Justin Long,
I was a mark for that. I was like, oh shit, nostalgia. I know this dude, and I also know him to be an actor that puts effort into his work. Now, a lot of time, and I expected the comedic element, which admittedly at times fell flat to me. There's a scene that you loved that I fucking hated. And I think the
tape measuring.
I hated it for the same reasons you love it, I think. But he played it well.
Yeah.
Like, he really did. And so I do not think Zac Efron would have done well in this role at all. I think it would have flopped. It would have been bad for both of them. Meanwhile...
And it would have been a huge distraction, because if we're distracted by Justin Long, people would have been really distracted by Zac Efron.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the theater would have been like, Zac Efron, and then it would have taken away the vibe of the... Like, Justin Long was believable as that kind of like Hollywood guy that made it. He broke through, and now he's kind of like low-key creepy, but he was trying to hide it.
He was sleazy,
sleazy.
And you're right. Yeah, people would have been, oh, it's Zac Efron. The ladies would have been, he's so hot, he's
like, why
forgivable.
Wouldn't that girl be with him?
Yeah. And instead, it makes it easy to be like, oh wow, this guy's a creep, which makes it easier, especially with the way things play out at the end, because they do lead you to think, oh, there's going to be a redemption, but you're sitting here like, well, I don't care if there's a redemption like this. I don't like this dude.
The characters were not likable, not even Tess. I mean, I would say that Keith was the only one that was totally pure. The only thing he did wrong was go down there. Yeah. Like, he was cool.
Yeah, which was a great red herring. And now we can start to really get into the plot, as I'm sure we'll start to continue to add little fun facts as we come in. But the whole premise early on, the first third, right, it's kind of meant to look like, is Keith a creep? I'm going to tell you what I thought was going on up until the Act 1 break. I thought that Keith owned the property. And that the whole thing was a ruse. Now, this could be, and I'll admit it, so that way, for full transparency, I just finished, I'm halfway through my second watch through of Dahmer, so that I can review that series for this very channel. And not only that, because of when you cover things that are based on something in history, you kind of want to look at the real story, because that's part of it. Like, did you just botch the whole fucking story? So I've spent way too much time in a story about a creepy dude who was bringing people into his apartment and drugging them. So I was maybe tuned for that, but I also did feel that the movie was trying to lead you into suspecting him. I had this whole metafiction or fan fiction in my head that, Keith was the owner of the house and he was somehow choreographing this. But what I still can't get over, and I don't think it got explained, maybe, what's up with the fucking door?
Yeah, why was it
how did the
opening,
basement door
shutting?
keep closing?
Yeah, because that was another like red herring. Like they were trying to make you think, oh, is there some supernatural things going on here? Because it would shut. And also, when she slept or when she woke up, that sound you heard. Well, that monster woman couldn't have been that quiet, right? And he was asleep. Keith was asleep. So what happened there?
Yeah. And that was the other part. At one point, we're getting a little ahead of the plot here, but at one point, there's a character that points out that she comes out at night, and so she didn't seem to be the most graceful of beings. She being Mother, I guess, our villain.
She bursted through the fucking door.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense that she would tiptoe like it's a little boy at Christmas opening up a video game console. I don't know. It's
like,
just weird.
Where did she get this Michael Myers aspect where if all she really wanted was babies, like clearly they were setting traps. Like there was that, the traps were being set. And what I think in some of this, what was cool about this was sort of like the analog fiction style of it, where it was sort of peeling back of an onion. Like first there's a creepy basement, then there's the string that everybody pulls for some reason, and then there's that creepy old room with the camcorder, which I'm guessing was something that Frank was using back in the day that doesn't quite get used anymore because he's old. But you're like, what the fuck is this? So I'm sitting here thinking, wow, Lucas is a creep. This whole thing was meant to get her down here, and her dumbass is playing into it. First of all, you came in there to pack your bags and leave. Take a piss at a gas station, lady. This whole thing started because she just took a piss and there wasn't any toilet paper. Call me gross. Call me gross if you want.
Holy shit!
Sorry,
I didn't think
ladies.
of it like that.
I don't know the struggle. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I am promising you, I really believe that the men and the people in your life will be A-okay if there's a little bit of dribble on them panties because you were leaving a crazy house. Like,
just let your undergarments take care of it.
Yeah. Just go to a bathroom. Get out in the first gas station you see. You have clothes. Change in the bathroom.
You would dare say the inciting incident of this movie is literally her needing toilet paper in the basement.
Exactly.
And seeing a fucking rope. That is literally all of Barbarian right now.
And then pulling that rope and being like, I'm going to keep going, which is another issue I'm going to have. I put it in my notes 17 times. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to keep going.
I'm just going to keep walking down these creepy stairs. I'm going to go in this next room and that next creepy room.
And then a lot of people be like, oh, but that shows like she cares about somebody. But it's like, you don't know this, dude.
Humans don't do this.
Yeah, they don't do this. And like, and also that's a plot hole with her character, because I just realized, and I know they did it just for comedic effect and shit, but what they did is when she saw the door open up and she saw that black abyss, it goes on her face and she goes, nope. And then she sits there like... And and then she just sits there, but then it's like, okay, now I'm suddenly, now that was kind of cool that she took the mirror and then had the light reflect off and then go in there, but still, then you see that rape room or the retired torturer's quadrant, and you're like, okay, that's creepy. Then she ran up, and then We'll go on there, but yes.
Yeah, and that's just where it's like, okay, she does that one smart thing, which then to me, in effect, makes all the stupid things that she did just feel that much more stupid. Like,
yes, and
you're smart enough to do that, but you can't just use a paint can to shatter that window and climb out of the
right,
fucking basement. Like,
which
again, never should even been down there.
exactly, and secondly, it wasn't like an idyllic, perfect neighborhood where she was like, oh, I don't understand why this house is creepy. The whole neighborhood and the world, the atmosphere of the movie was warning her, saying this shit is fucked up. It's wrong. It's weird. It was a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even I know we came into, but I saw it before. What I would say the first 5 minutes, it starts with her in the car and the rain's pouring and she's like looking at her phone and she sees just like silhouettes of the houses and it looks creepy and bad still, even though she couldn't see everything perfectly, right? But it looked dangerous. It was not a good area. I mean, honestly, most people would have left when she went to her job interview. When she went to the job interview and she saw everything,
Yeah.
and then that girl's like, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah. They would have packed her shit, which is what
Sign
she
out.
was doing.
Sign out.
And then, went to take a piss and then made just a series of horrible decisions, one after another, to get herself down into that basement. And then
Yes.
staying for some creepy stranger who, again, was a good guy, but still, that whole thing was very dumb, too. Please just stay for... How about
Yeah.
you both get out of the basement?
Yeah, because like what I said to you while we were watching, and I didn't realize this until I watched it with you. I was like, he said, so I don't get locked in the basement too. Well, do what she did and just put the chair, because she did that later.
Just prop the door open with the chair. Why this whole
she
movie
literally,
is
they didn't even have sex. They didn't kiss. Now, they did have a little bit of romantic, tantalizing tease, like where she was like, I enjoyed our night, where they finally had a little wine and they bonded over the documentary, because they did that, a little fetch quest where it was like, oh, he knew the movie or the director that she was
It's another reason I thought he was a killer, because I thought he was just lying about everything. Yeah.
He knew everything. Now, that dude, the Skarsgård, he did an awesome job with the whole, like that scene where he was rambling about the wine and the tea. Like, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Things where the movie like breathed and it was like, but then it kind of descended into ridiculousness, like madness. Yeah, so I don't know. But I do have a question for you. And the question is like, why... What? Okay, there were so many times where it was like, leave, right? Just leave. When she got back from the job interview, that was her mission statement. That was her goal before the night. Well, I have a job interview. I got to talk to her in the morning, so I have to stay here. And there's a conference in town or whatever, and I can't get a place, and it's Detroit, whatever. Okay, when she did the interview with the person, with the woman, goal reached. It was done. Why did she need to be there anymore? I know they were going to work, right?
She was meeting with her. She says something to the interviewer about seeing you tomorrow.
Oh,
I think there was a second part of the interview.
So it wasn't over.
It wasn't over for, it was a throwaway line at the end.
But she could have texted that woman, because she worked with her, and said, hey, you were right. This area is really messed up. Could I stay there? Do you have a friend? Because that director made it seem like, oh yeah, we don't go down that street. It was like Step Brothers, don't go down that sidewalk.
Yeah. If it was as bad as it was, it was like the woman came on so strongly at first, and then with just the most minimal defense, she's like, oh, okay, I guess. But it's like, no, if you're a local and someone's not, and you know how bad it is, you're going to be a little more like, no, listen.
Yeah.
And if you really liked that person the way it seemed that she did, that they were going to hire her, I guarantee she'd have been like, here's somewhere else you can stay. Yeah. I've got at least an option for you.
You're definitely not going to go big gulps, huh? We'll see you later.
The plot was incredibly convenient. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. She's like, well, I guess we'll have fun with your new Airbnb boyfriend.
That's crazy. But yeah, so...
And yeah, it's...
So what's your biggest gripe in the movie? Is just her doing things or everybody would do things... Even Justin Long, AJ, the character of AJ...
Is stupid.
Yeah, he had to sell it, but like, if he's like, okay, there's a squatter in my house, or squatters, screw this, I'm going to... Why wouldn't you just call, or just not? Why would you try to take matters into your own hands? I don't get it.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
His character, I think, was clearly meant to be stupid, but doesn't mean I like it, and especially when other characters are being stupid, I'll work with you on it if it's a character trait, and that it's still frustrating when stupidity sets off a plot, but when it's sprinkled throughout the cast, and then you have a character whose defining trait is that he's like just shitty and stupid, it's frustrating. But yes, what he should have done was sold the actual LA house, the one that was bankrupting him. So what he was doing wasn't even helping. And then to top it off, he's dumb enough to fly to Detroit when he's got legal pending action. And again, and they make it a point to address these things, which lets me know that while writing and making this, they felt these plot holes and addressed them. And again, like you said, it could have been cut. A lot of this stuff maybe wouldn't have felt as holy, maybe if because it was a relatively short movie too. Even
it's like an hour 40.
It didn't feel terribly short to me, but I can see how maybe some other things could have been put in there. But yeah, my biggest thing really was everyone just being dumb. I really liked. I'm a big fan of that. I am a big fan of setting up like 50 pages and then boom, we're gonna drop you.
Which that movie did do a good job of.
Yeah, and it was jarring, but it didn't take that long to get him back to the house. It really didn't take that long.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I get what they were going for, and I think over time, I may appreciate the movie more because it does have a it could have had a great ending, and they ruined the ending. As you said, they batteried it.
Yeah. The ending was probably the weakest because actually the first act is really cool because, and you didn't see it, they have no credit sequence at all. It just goes right into it like Scream style, Drew Barrymore. And then when she finally enters the house and you're unsure of Keith, and like what's going on. When she enters, it says it flips over and then it goes Barbarian. It shows the name of the movie, and it's the way they do it is so smooth, and that's the only entry point with credits or anything.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, you'll have to watch it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Also the guy who played the older man, the Frank.
Yeah, of course.
He
his
was
name was
creepy.
Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was creepy. And yeah, that we talked briefly about it. But the flashback was great.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. The very unique camera angles that they worked with in that.
Very stylish.
Yeah, I liked the styling of that. And yeah, and I guess the ending, I liked the swerves. I liked seeing Justin Long's character AJ revert back to being a dick.
Yeah,
and
he ate it.
Yeah, and him eating it in the end. That was great.
He tried to justify it, like I was gonna help you, like straight through. You slipped.
Yeah, you slipped. I didn't even get to finish doing it. Crazy. And I thought it was gonna end so well, just with her finishing off Mother, and then
and that's over.
Leaving. Yeah, maybe you just get to wonder. And of course, I would have thought at that point, probably chances were that she would survive because she took a gut shot, and the way the bodies were laying implied that the mother took the brunt of that fall.
She definitely did.
But it would have been way better to think, because it was very conceivable to think that the main character could have died, and that it's like, and I don't mean to sound macabre here, but to me that's like a cool ending. Like we always get the final girl you know what I mean? Just like,
if they would have had
so
AJ
many different things.
If they would have had AJ scurry off like a little piece of garbage, like, I don't know, it maybe would have been a little more impactful, because then you can keep it going.
I think people really would have hated that.
Oh yeah, he would have been. Oh yeah,
but that's okay. Like that's can be an ending that makes you angry.
They teased Tess dying a lot. I mean, AJ shot her when they were in the catacombs or in the halls.
Yeah.
Like they even showed a shot after she got shot with her eyes open, like she's dead. And then, I'm okay.
I'm still here.
I'm here. I got a lot left in the tank.
I'm alive. And speaking of a lot left in the tank, I think we're going to have a lot left in the tank. We're about to take a quick break here, but when we come back, among other things, we'll be going over my long notes.
Yes.
And some final thoughts. So we'll catch you then. And we're back. Part 2 on day 2. Noah is back with me to talk Barbarian. And I have to admit, no, I want to watch this movie again now after I've sat with it for a whole day, and I'll get into it in a moment. But I actually had someone directly ask me whether or not I would recommend this movie, and I will wait before I
Oh,
tell you my answer. But
ooh, what a cliffhanger.
yeah, I wanted to give you a chance to speak.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I would say that when we went to the theater and we watched it, it was kind of made me it was really funny how sometimes you would groan, and that was like kind of same reactions that I had. But the movie has a unique way of pervading into your mind because you're like, okay, well, they are doing the typical, like you said in part one, bad decisions, like why do this, why do this. But the way that the movie was done, it didn't feel. Another thing you mentioned was it's like an indie horror in a way, but it didn't feel. Sometimes when you watch like the horror movies that they release in the theater, you just get this feeling of full indifference, and you're like, you just feel stupid after watching it. But this movie did build a lore. It built this world, and I don't know if they'll do a sequel. I know Zach Krager said that he doesn't really want to do one just because it'd be even more depressing. Because, I mean, what do you do? Like, do you make
Yeah,
it a prequel?
you almost would have to, right? Or
Yeah,
you
because he
do
did
the
say, yeah,
yeah
he
the
did say to do like a prequel with Frank, the old guy that bought the house.
that and I think there is a lot of story to be told there, which
Yes,
I one of the things that I do like about this, the more I sit with it. And
yeah,
yeah, there definitely, you're right. Yeah, there were lots of groans from me. There were times that I was very relieved that we were in the back row because I felt that I just had my phone out for more than half the movie. I
yeah.
was blown away when I pulled out the notes and showed them to my friend. I was like, "Holy crap! I didn't remember taking
Hmm. Yeah,
that
look at all
many
that.
notes. Like, there's a lot here that
The
I have
beauty.
to say."
And I can't wait to hear them in about who knows how long. I
And
can't wait to
however
hear them.
long that'll
Yeah.
take.
But so what one thing that I failed to mention on part one that my very oh one thing that I failed to mention on part one was that, like, I think my absolute favorite part of the movie was like when the Frank scene and the flashbacks. Um, you didn't see him hurt any woman. It was all insinuated, of course, and you did hear the scream at the end before it cut to current time. But I like that because a lot of horror movies would be like, oh, you're gonna see him rape her, you're gonna see him bludgeon her, and my vibe, and you have the similar, like, don't point at it. You want to try to stray away from that. And like even when AJ came across all the tapes, which we didn't really talk about that much, the tapes that he found of all the redhead homeless and like hobos and like just gas station attendant, and and then it cut to his face later in the movie, AJ watching it, and just you heard another just scream or suffering, and that's it. And I like that, like just by that dude and his vibe, Frank's vibe in the flashback, he was a bad motherfucker and really demented, and I liked that.
That was true, and that and to add to it, yeah, Justin Long's the way he talked to Frank after that was it. It got the message across. You didn't need to be shown what it was. He went from "I'm gonna help you get out of here, man" to you sick fuck. What did you do?" And
Yeah.
they did a great job with the flashback showing you how creepy Frank was, so that way
Mm-hmm.
when the time came, you know what's going on because you've seen the creepy dungeon room, and that was we did touch on it a little bit in part one, but this seems like the perfect part to talk about it because I love this kind of stuff. The sort of analog horror. I'm gonna say ARG here, even though this is not an ARG, but I believe that a lot of ARGs and analog horror have that sort of detective aspect where so much of what you're enjoying about the content is sleuthing and trying to put the pieces together. And that is what I
Yeah.
loved about this story, and it really resonated to me. It felt like a creepy pasta or the analog horror where you're given really tiny bits of the lore over time, and it just almost thematically to have there be a secret basement room and then
Hmm.
yet another bigger secreter dungeon
Yeah.
basement, it just was
Yes.
indicative of kind of like what those stories are like it kind of reminded me of, I don't know, it's just like even to go into like the flash indie horror games, you look at like stuff like FNAF that just
Yeah.
started as random animatronics, and then it's like, oh wait, no, there's actually this dude that's been murdering people and stuffing children into suits, and it just
Yeah.
kind of had that like, but wait, there's more. And so,
Yeah.
and because it had already established that, we kind of in the audience, we know, okay, Frank was doing horrible things to those women in that sex dungeon. We don't need anybody to show it to us. We get it. And which I thought was a great job, and I do appreciate those were the things even after the original sitting.
Hmm.
I appreciated those things where it's like, okay, this is a unique way to tell the story. What do I say? I say it 100 times. The first time I ever walked into a creative writing 101 class, the professor walked in. They had one of those movable boards where you could move the whiteboard to show the chalkboard behind it, and it said big letters, "Show, don't tell." And they said that's the only
Hmm.
lesson for today. Like that
Yeah.
is the first lesson every time. Show, don't tell, especially for this medium. So anyway, I'll
Yeah.
soapbox. I'll step down, but
No, yeah, you're right. And they did have a lot of that, of just quick actions to signify someone's potential craziness. For example, one of the parts that really stuck out for me uh, is when AJ was at that door before he got into Frank's lair, and she was creeping up. The monster woman was creeping up in the hall or in the corridor, and then she just like saw where he was, and then she just like slinked back. It was like, nope, I'm not going. And I thought that was a really effective scene because you're like, whoa, what the hell is the intimidation factor there? Like the ownage of him, the dynamic of him and her, you know? So
yeah,
I found that kind of interesting, you know?
yeah, and I loved the red herring aspect. That was one of the things that this movie got knocked for, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
when it was trying to get bought, get made. Was maybe not necessarily the red herring aspect, but the hard reset. But to me, that was my favorite part. Not enough movies do that.
Yeah.
Um, More need to. And yeah, of course, it's like a bath of cold water. That's exactly how it felt too. To switch from the crazy death in the basement to
To like
Justin
the
Long singing
ocean.
in the ocean and a convertible on the highway. Like it could not have been
Yeah.
a bigger contrast. I don't think.
And then when on the speakerphone, and the first thing he's like, you have so and so and them on the phone. And he's like, love it, put them on. Like, it's just so like, oh man.
Yeah, really over the top, and then it didn't take them long to get back.
Hmm.
So that I also appreciated even while I was getting angry. Now, I don't know. I'm trying to avoid all the things that made me angry because that's all that my
Oh, it's
notes
okay.
consist of. So I'm trying not to open Pandora's box yet. But
Yeah, and well, there was a part that you missed because you had to, duck out for a moment. But like, when he went back to his house that he had, the house, and AJ was an annoying character. He was an asshole. It was other on top of being a predator, horrible. And he goes into where Tess was, and he he sees her laptop, and he opens it up and it says Tess and like the password screen, and then he just like tries one time to get in there, and then it doesn't work, of course, like he doesn't know the password, and he's like, ugh, and he just throws it behind him, like just throws the laptop. And I thought it was so good because he's such a dick. He doesn't even care about who does that. Like, but that was again an action to signify this dude is just a cocky, don't care about anybody's personal stuff. And because I've never seen that in a movie before, and it was just such a small action, but it really showed a lot of what he was, and I liked that.
That's a good point, and that Justin Long did a great job with a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure some of that was written and directed into the film. But I think
Yeah,
he deserves a lot of credit for the work that he did in the role. But those are some things that maybe in the first viewing might have irritated me a bit, but understanding the medium, I do appreciate, like you said, I'm kind of glad I missed that particular moment because of the way I
mm-hmm.
was feeling watching the movie. I would have felt that it was on the nose and it might have
Mm-hmm.
irritated me. Just,
Yeah,
but again, I,
more.
I get it. You don't have a lot of time to paint a picture of these
Mm-hmm.
characters, and that's a stuff like that that I view as like unbelievable. Like I don't
Yeah,
know, there aren't too many dickheads in the world that I know that will just toss someone else's computer. But then again, I don't know a lot of millionaires either, so maybe some of that is just me. But again, it's super effective. Like, and they did
yeah,
a great job with moving you around the emotional spectrum, in my opinion, when it came to AJ. Because it's like, wow, he's a piece of shit. Wow,
yeah,
he's a whiny piece of shit. Okay, and he's kind of trying to be good, and then he's it gets there, the old, he gets to Frank, and you're like, okay, he sees some really really bad stuff, so maybe he'll have his like, oh my god, what I did was horrible. This guy is like me to the 100 millionth degree. I'm gonna be a
yeah.
changed man, and then absolutely nope, no way, and then he
No.
goes right back to being the piece of shit, and that, which I think is just such great. It reminds me of Pete in Mad Men, who is my
Mm.
favorite, least favorite character. I love those characters where it's like, oh, you love this guy, don't you? I'm gonna make him do something really shitty, and now you hate him again, and then
Yeah,
I'm gonna spend all this time building him back up, and then oh, but isn't he just always a piece of shit? You just know he was
yeah.
gonna be shitty.
The
Eh,
Walter White itis.
yeah, yes, AJ is the one that knocks.
Yes, absolutely. And oh, and then we didn't touch upon that quick character development, which I and you liked, you laughed at least, but the whole thing of like when he was on the speakerphone with his mother, and she was like, "Oh, we miss you. Are you coming?" And he's like, "Your dad is worried." Oh, really? He said that? Like he
Yeah.
wants to see you. Like he wants to see me. And she's like, "You know how he is, honey." And it was just like such a like, well, who knows what type of, you know, problems he had. That could, the way that he did that scene was like, yeah, it was for comedic effect, but it was also like, well, was he abused? Was he always trying to get the love of his dad? Was he fucked up?
It does
You
build a
know,
lot. Yeah, it's a lot of additional character development, or
yes.
questions at least, in that. And yeah, and I laughed at it in the moment because, well, it rings a personal note, but
Yeah.
I think many a man in the creative space has similar thoughts of like, oh yeah,
Yes.
really, like, oh cool. So yeah, that just made me
I
laugh
never
because
had a dad, okay?
yeah,
I never had a dad.
it struck a note with me. It made me laugh because like, that sounds like my punk ass if I ever got rich. Oh really? Did Dad say that?
Yeah. Did
Uh,
dad say,
really? Did he say he was
you
proud?
know how he
Oh my
is.
god. No, so no.
But
Okay.
that
Yeah.
another, but to go on another positive note, because I am going to get negative,
Yeah. It's we're
but to go on a one more positive
we're
note,
getting
I
there.
really really loved the scene where when, and it leads into it when he's like, "Hold on, mom, I got a call." Like, and she's like, "Okay, honey, I love." And he clicked over and he's like, "What's up?" Like, you know, and then he
What's?
says a
Oh
horrible thing,
yeah. Yep.
and then it cuts to him and his friend at the bar, and then he's like, "Come on, straight up, man, tell me." And that was like, that was pitch perfect to me because the way that he was trying to justify it, like, I mean, at first she didn't really want to do anything, but like, and then he like tried to justify it out loud.
It's a lot harder to
It
do
was,
once you do that.
mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to talk yourself into things. Once you got to say it out loud, and that was when again. that was one of the, like we were talking about before, that was one of those ebb and flows where it was like, oh, you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to, no, don't like this
Nope.
guy, and then we have to bring him
Yep.
back up. Yeah,
But
that was
that,
another good one.
in my opinion, that scene completely confirmed that he was a total piece of garbage. And because he did it. Because from that before that point, you didn't really know if he did it because he
Exactly.
was so like she's a fucking bitch, but you didn't really know. But then they double down on that when he gets back home and he's toasted, he's drunk, and then he calls her. I don't know, yeah, and
That
he's
was
like,
right when I came back into
yeah,
him, and I, oof, which is just a,
he's like,
which just, here's a nickel's worth of free advice to all my friends out there and not friends alike. But whether or not you've done something horrible to someone, probably just don't call them drunk after
no,
bar close. Just don't do it.
yeah.
Very rarely is that going to work out well for you. You're just going to make yourself look like an idiot. They're probably
especially
sober. Whoa.
Yeah, especially when he's like, I mean, I'm not even mad
Yeah,
at
I'm not
you.
even mad that you press charges against me for. Yeah. Anyway, for words I'm not going to say due to potential
Yeah.
monetization issues.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was some great character development. I will give it that. They made it really easy to dislike that guy, which was one of the
Mhm.
things that the 15 different production companies, or no, what, I don't know the number of production companies. It was every
A
company that
lot.
had made a horror movie
It
in
could
the
have been
last
40 or
15
50.
years,
Yeah, it could have been
uh,
a lot.
according to the director, said, no, I'm a pass. And one of their reasons, we've already mentioned one of them already, being the 50-page ad break. Uh, Reason three on their big three, and I don't remember what the second one was are the audience does the audience want to follow a grapist for 30 pages? Got
Now I want
any
to watch that.
grapes? Yeah.
Now I want to watch that sketch. Damn it.
Oh,
Whitest kids you know.
hey,
Watch that, yeah.
have to do it. Have to go watch
Um,
that.
well, and then you risk. I mean, I understand why a lot of people said no, because you, even in a movie format, when that gets switched over to film, you're going to lose a lot of people in when it cuts, when Keith is killed, and then it just cuts alienating, style to, him by the ocean, a brand new character. A lot of people be like, what the fuck? This isn't what I signed up for, you know,
Yep.
because it doesn't do like a 4 or 5 minute scene with Justin Long, like establishing. I mean, it does move nicely, but I would say that's like 20 to 30, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It takes a minute. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it they once, and it maybe, I don't know, I was following along as soon as they mentioned the properties and stuff. So once those
Mm-hmm.
got
Yeah.
mentioned, then I was like, okay, well, to me, the two
Oh, yeah.
stories had merged. But it does take them a minute for him to get in front of the house with the car being parked out front and everything. So,
Yeah.
uh, which I get, but again, that you've talked about this on this show, off this show.
Mm-hmm.
Horror needs more new things. So
Yeah.
that part again, I'll say it again. We need more of that. Uh,
It's a new intellectual property, and I think that's why people. It really just comes down to, especially because people are going to the movie theater more, and our movie theater when we went, there were a good amount of people there, and that movie has been out for what, 3 weeks or so. It's
yeah,
not a new movie,
and it was a
and
Tuesday afternoon too. So, well,
yeah,
I mean, even dinner time, but
yeah, like over five. So, but like it, it really boils down to people are like, "What's this?" And also, if you haven't seen it because you went in completely cold, the teaser trailer for Barbarian is really well done because it doesn't give you anything. You don't know if Keith is bad. You don't know if there's a monster. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. So I think that is another reason why it was successful in its opening weeks because it was a big mystery. Um, they didn't even show Justin Long or any of that part. It was all the first act.
yep, that's
So yeah.
true. Wow, I didn't see the trailer, but that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've come to that time now where
Mm-hmm.
it's time to start getting into some of the bad stuff. or
Yes.
at least my notes. And what I will do for the sake of dramatization is I will get a bit loud whenever I typed in all caps because that's was the
Yeah.
intention, right? That's the
Do
intended result.
do like an awesome speed round because I know they were like good amounts, so I want to see you like rattle off the anger.
Oh, oh, there's got to be a certain pace to this, so
All right, let's do
we'll
it.
we'll see. And feel free to stop me. Feel free to jump in whenever you need to. But the
Just let
first
it wash over me.
first note, and I don't know, it probably took 15 or 20 minutes for me to get a note out. But the first note is okay, what? Why is everything that happens in this movie based on Tess being a dumbass? Yeah, let's investigate the secret basement room, idiot. Yeah,
Idiot.
walk into the torture room too. Why are you waiting for the stranger to come back? And then you walk to the top of the stairs. What a dumb lady. I hate her. How stupid are you? I don't care what she does. I don't care if she lives anymore. This movie is over for me. That's probably. This is before the Act 1 break so far. We're just
It's
like
almost
30
sound
pages
you
in.
almost sound like a disgruntled sports fan at the stadium right
Yeah.
now. Like,
Why?
why would you
Yeah.
pass the ball when you're
Yeah.
on the 1 yard
My
line?
next one. You've known him for one day. Leave his ass.
Yeah, they didn't even kiss or do anything.
And that was in response to him saying, "I'm just asking you wait for 20 seconds
Yeah,
while I go into the
put
basement." Like, no, dude, no,
as
fuck you. Check it out yourself.
as we talked about in part one, they could have anybody could have put a damn chair on the door, by the door, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, the chair by the door. And so I said, I hate this movie. It makes no sense to me. Sure, let's go down the other secret stairs. This is like analog horror done as a movie. So there was a compliment.
Okay,
But
that's
then
a
I
kind of,
said, but dumb.
but it was but I can see the tide turning a little bit. Like you're like, okay, this movie is changing a little bit
Yep,
on
I'm like,
us.
okay, well, I like that. And then I said, you what? With a bunch of question marks. And
What?
I believe that was the reveal of the cave troll. That's what I called
Mm-hmm.
her at first. I said, plot twist with the cave trolls was my next. And then the following is Justin Long, question mark, exclamation point.
Ooh,
Haven't
yes.
seen this dude in years. Um,
LOL, thought he was dead.
I
No,
said,
I'm
yeah.
just
I
joking.
said Justin Long is amazing, but are all the characters just idiots? It's been weeks since they got there. Again, this is so stupid, and calling it stupid in your script doesn't make it any less stupid.
Can I intervene one time? That was the biggest one of the biggest issues I had with the movie when Justin Long's character AJ talked to the housing, the property management,
Yep.
and he was asking what we would ask. Again, it goes back to part one of you saying you could tell that there were plot holes that they were like tussling with, like tug of war. And it's like, first of all, that's really not I've been in Airbnbs and a lot of places like that. They don't just like, oh, you checked out and no one's going to touch it even if there's no one there. That's just not how it goes. And secondly, to check out, a human being has to check out. If they don't hear from it or put the key back or something happens, then the people are going to go, the property manager are going to be like, what the hell happened here? So, like, nobody checked out because they were in the dungeon. So, like, what happened?
And that's a great point that I didn't know because I've stayed at a couple
Hmm.
Airbnbs, but I've never been the booker
Right,
or the bookie or any of that. I've just been a dude staying in a room that someone else rented.
right.
So I didn't even think about that. But yes, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Again, just
because there
makes
was
it
a
more
code.
dumb.
Because there was a code. Yeah, there was a code from the front door. And remember when AJ came, he was like, "What the fuck?" Like the key wasn't there. So,
And it's
and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a ring too? There was like a camera there, probably.
I don't
Maybe
remember
not.
if
I
there
don't
was,
remember.
but I'm just questioning a policy of a place that says, yeah, we don't clean them until they need to be rented again. So if
Right,
you had a
and
tenant who
also,
shit on the coats,
yeah,
Dane Cook style, you're just gonna let fecal matter sit in the house for 2 weeks and then be like, oh
but
fuck, we got it 20 hours to clean this before the
and
next tenant gets here.
but even if we go to the pretend stupid thing of like, okay, we're not going to check it if someone doesn't check in or buy it or rent it out.
you need to have a physical checkout. You need to have proof that they left. Otherwise, they're staying for free. So there has to be a proof that they left.
So
So
yeah,
that's a big plot hole.
massive plot hole. And
What's up, Zach? What happened?
come on, Mang. And then the notes don't get much better here in this part. Now, coming up, we'll get to a spot where Noah and I disagree, so that'll be fun. But my next line is, so I'm supposed to root for the grapist then. Good news, I'm still rooting for you, movie. Like, I'm even
Mm.
putting in my notes,
You
like,
still,
I want to like you,
yeah,
but
you like it. You like you because the movie did have a good way of kind of immersing you and keeping you attentive to it.
and it was
You
just
know?
trying to do something new also
Yeah,
that
it was.
I will
That's what I
just
liked the
always
most
give
about
the
it.
bonus points of like you're trying you're not it's not really resonating with me at the moment, but at least it's not paint by numbers.
And it grows on you because even you are like, I kind of want to see it again just to spot things and.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are problems with
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
As
Yeah,
big
I'm certain none of
problems.
these plot holes will evaporate with a second
No.
viewing, but um and now he's measuring the creepy sex dungeon for his listing. What the fuck, right? Already just like, okay,
So
weird.
so that part obviously was meant to be like corny, like he's annoying and stupid and greedy and just. But the reason, like, okay, the reason I liked it obviously was because of the swerve. Because when he opens up that other room going down the corridor or the stairs, well, and he's like, oh shit, and you think, oh my god, Keith's body is there. You're assuming he's seeing death. You're assuming he's seeing devastation, and then he's just like, oh, more square footage, and that's honestly, I've never seen a horror movie do that before, so it was kind of funny,
Well,
and that's
here
why. Yeah.
well, here
Well,
were
let's
my
see you shit
thoughts.
on it. Yes. I can't wait.
And now he's measuring the secret lair stairs. The entire theater is laughing right now, and I am dead inside.
Good Lord, Kevin.
Measuring the dog cages too. So good. And at this point, again, I was like, well, I mean, okay, again, I get and like I like dark humor. I like the comedy in it, but I think it just at this point it was death by a thousand cuts for me, and there had been enough things that I was irritated by, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them stemmed back to characters just doing things that human beings don't do.
Right.
And this was just yet another one where, okay, dude, like the
I would
joke
say,
was
yeah.
funny maybe at first when you did the stairs, but when he's going past the fucking weird dog cages
Dog kennels,
and
yeah.
I'm like, dude, enough. It was the Peter Griffin with the damn frog
Like,
trying to get
yeah,
the
yeah.
frog in the, and I'm like, enough. Stop
Or,
it. Cut.
or when
Cut.
he's like holding his knee and he's like, ah,
Man,
yeah.
I'm just like,
No,
dude, come on, man,
I
just move
understand. And
on. We get it. He's an asshole and he's goofy. Like, just move on. But, go ahead.
and also before they did that, we failed to mention that they did the gimmick where he was searching on the computer about extra space and if he could list it. So they were already beating the joke in. They were already putting his joke in before he was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, it ran a little bit long, and I
Yeah.
like so it wasn't that I didn't like the joke. It was just like, all right, put it to bed and move on.
But it's very
And
funny that you said that's hilarious that you said I am dead inside. I invite you to the ultimate endless shrimp at Red Lobster for you to feel alive inside and out.
yes, oh, and I actually so this next one I think you had stepped out because you pointed this out
Yeah.
later on, but I caught it at this point because I have a note that just says CRT baby. Um,
Yep. Yeah, on the ground
yeah,
like a VHS
in the
combo.
weird milking room, the feeding room. Um,
Yes.
it seems like there at one point were lots of children down there.
Every
Creepy,
creepy, crazy basement needs a milking room.
of
I've
course.
always said it since my teen years. I don't know.
And right, and so this next part, I'll double up on some positive feedback. It says, "Love some of the camera angles and cinematography, especially at this point," which I will then follow, which by saying, "I like the flashback, even though it's an obvious lot." Cool
Yeah.
angles at least, which so yeah,
That,
so
yeah.
lead, transitioning into the flashback and especially like getting him walking out of his house to the car, a lot of cool camera angles
Beautiful.
there. I
Yeah,
couldn't help but laugh when he got out of this hardware store and it was just like the most obvious Blazing Saddles looking fucking movie lot that I've ever
right.
seen. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that looks like something from the 1890s. It's not the 1980s, but it was still
yeah.
cool. But you
And
know, you film it in Romania, that's what you get, or whatever,
the
wherever they're at.
well, my favorite part about that whole flashback vibe was the whole when he got into that woman's house and he turned the water on, and just his action of how he unlocked the window was so chilling. Like that's all you needed of an action of like, oh yeah, he's gonna like tear shit up soon.
Back then, yeah, yep.
Like that's all you needed is creep in that window, bro, and
Which
you know,
is hilarious because that's going to get me to another note. So that's why I'm gonna read a couple notes here because it
yeah,
goes along with what you just said. So the first one, which isn't related, says I like the storytelling regarding the jumps in the timeline. That
yeah.
helps make up for other issues I'm having with the movie. And then I said, oh, the '80s when you can change into an electrician's costume on the street in broad daylight and everyone just trusts it. Which again to the window thing, it
Makes
was just
sense.
that easy back then, and
Yeah.
it's not even like a bit of
Shit,
a
you could
dig.
almost still do it now, maybe
Uh,
in a few
it,
rural
yeah,
areas.
it was a bit of a dig at the movie because I'm like, okay, this dude probably isn't putting on coveralls on the street. He's probably doing it before he even gets there. But again, it's storytelling. We have a limited amount of time in this flashback, so they're doing the whole thing. Also, he speaks to his neighbor face to face while wearing a onesie that says Carlos, and his neighbor, who
Right.
knows his name is Frank, doesn't say fucking shit to him about it, which I could have done without. But
Yeah.
these are the things. There get to in certain movies, there gets to be a point where I have to say, Kevin, all right, like
Just enjoy or
ease
like
up on the
chill.
realism. Clearly, there's not a level of realism looking to be attained here. That's gonna meet what I was looking for, and you know.
I think with horror, people just want to be taken on a mindless ride with some artistic, create like creative
Yeah,
swerves here and
yeah,
there.
creative kills and
Yeah,
some cool camera angles.
and
Do something new.
I gotta say though, this movie is considered really crazy because of the story and the copy of a copy of the incest or the crazy stuff.
You get a
But
copy of a
really, there's
copy. Get
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Shit, she hasn't come here in 15 years. Yeah.
Shit.
Shit, it was like The Wire.
Yeah.
Shit.
Shit.
That was the part that I just a quick side note. That was the part I rolled my eyes because it was like, yeah, he's gonna go in now. She's
It's
never been
coming.
there,
Yep.
and she's gonna come in and kill. Now I want us. I'm gonna say right now, I want us to film a movie one day where we do that. And nothing fucking happens, and the scene just breathes for another minute or two, and nobody's killed, and everybody sits there like, "Why is no one being killed?" Cool,
And
like,
then everyone
because
plays clips of me complaining about
yeah,
and or tweet me, you
yeah.
hypocrite. Yeah, no. But you're right.
So
No, people don't do
yeah,
it. But
people don't do that because every time someone's like, "Yeah, we're safe here," like
see, this is
whatever.
great. This is gonna be a great our opportunity to workshop some of these ideas because
Yeah,
we can let the YouTube comments tell us if they're
this
gonna
is where it
appreciate
all
this or not.
this is where it all began.
And then I have, of course, his name is Frank. And I have Baba Baba Ba Baba Baba Ba Bad Movie. Now I can't remember, what was there a song or something
Damn,
when she was going Ba Ba Ba? What was that? Because it really pissed me off.
I don't.
Was
Oh yeah, no, that was the part where the mother, the creepy woman,
oh
jumped
yeah.
down,
We're just like ba
and it
ba
was
ba
when
ba
he
ba ba
first met
ba.
AJ, and you
Yeah,
were like, ugh.
yeah. I didn't like. I
Yeah.
clearly I didn't like the Ba 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 thing.
Well, it's funny that you were like so, like, it's weird because like this movie is really unique, probably experience to you because there's so much intense hatred for the storytelling, but also you're still your other half of the brain. You're like, this is really well done because it is really well done, and like you said before, it's different the approach they did,
mm-hmm.
and also I don't think anybody has used. Obviously, everybody's used the creepy basement or hey, go down that corridor, see what's going on. But
Yeah.
the way that they did it with the modernity, like the how do you pronounce that? Modernity,
Modernity.
modernity. That's right. Damn it, Kevin,
Modernity.
you fixed me. And
Kevin's going
modernity,
on maternity leave, boys. I'm taking
modernity
taking
and
a day off to be
paternity,
modern.
modernity and the fraternity. Anyway, sorry, I'm an asshole.
You're all right.
Um, damn it. Um, but it is weird because like you do feel like, and I did too with this movie because I was really disappointed by the ending because it just seemed almost like shoehorned in, and
Yeah.
also why the hell did they go up the water tower? What the fuck?
I was mad about that too. I don't know if I have that one up here. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna get caught up with my note because we're almost to the end. So I'm gonna get my
Yeah,
notes caught up to the water tower because that is smart. I said at
yeah.
least she was smart enough to leave Justin. And then I said, of course, the homeless guy was good. Good for you, movie. This was a note that I missed, but it was a mental note that I took when it happened. I was like,
Fair
it's a
enough.
bit of a cliche where it was like, oh, I bet the homeless guy's trying to help her out here.
Yeah,
Like he knows
yeah. He said,
there's
"Do you remember when he what he said to her when he was running
get
at
out
her?"
that
Or,
house or something.
yeah, he was like, "Little girl,
Yeah, come on
little
out that
girl, get out
house.
that house."
Yeah, come out
No,
that house. Yeah,
what I
like again,
found
in the
so
most
funny about that,
non-helpful way.
yeah, like what? Literally, he could have just walked up, calling, and be like, "Excuse me, hey, there's a crazy woman in the house.
Or just
Don't go in
yeah.
there."
Or yell that. If you're gonna yell
Yeah,
instead of saying "little girl, come out that house," say "Hey,
yeah.
say she'll kill you." Say that,
Which,
which he
which
was
is it,
happy to
which
say
is
later.
which is exactly, which is hilarious because then when she goes out there and the cops won't help her, like, and all that stuff, but it's like, yeah, she comes out and daddy owns the house and all this, like, okay, you're gonna tell everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then he just does the story time. Yeah, which
Yeah.
again tells us, which to me I always think those are for the slow kids in the room, because I don't know about you, and I'm
Mhm.
sorry if this offended you, if you were you the being the viewer, and I just called you slow because you really needed that scene to explain it to you. But upon a second viewing, you might find that the flashback combined with the story up to that point was more than enough for you to know what was going on. And I
Yeah.
didn't really need that big break in the action to
Hon-
for a lore dump. Like, hold on, guys, he's going to explain the lore. It was like that to a point.
Honestly, I would have been a lot happier if they wouldn't have even killed the homeless man off. Like, why do that to up the kill count? Like, you didn't
You
need
said
to
that was
kill him.
why. That I mean,
Yeah, you just
that
needed
was
to
why.
kill the kill count because really in that movie there isn't a big body bag. Like honestly, it has Psycho vibes, like original Psycho, because there's not really a lot of blood
Yeah.
or murder in it.
Yeah, yeah. Most of what happens you're not you don't see.
Yeah, it's
I think multiple
implied.
people get bit, then you don't ever see them
Yeah,
get bit. They
yeah,
have their couple of crazy scenes where that's where they put the budget. Smart. I think that's the way
yeah.
to do that.
The two most violent deaths were the two men, Keith and AJ, got owned.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so
And
that's interesting. Yeah,
when I go back again, this is me complaining about Tess. I say she is such a dumb character. No one would go back for him. Go to the damn police. Which again,
and they
I
did that.
I have that. I just have that problem with the like, and again, so much of what I have problems with here. I guess you could say, well, you don't have a movie if you do that. But again, my this plot was just so very convenient. It required
Well,
Tess to be just the most morally pure person of all time who just couldn't at any point in time just look out for herself, which is the number one human instinct. It is the thing that drives every
yeah.
single one of us to our core. No one behaves like this, and I have a real problem with it. Sorry, Noah, what were
Well,
you saying?
they no, I was just saying like to your point of the like they had a MacGuffin or get out of jail free card with the whole Detroit thing because they shit all over Detroit and made it seem like, oh yeah, Detroit sucks, so the cops are gonna think she's a crackhead
Yep.
and it's a bad neighborhood, and it's just like, okay, well, but okay, I don't know why they thought she was crazy because yeah, she looked a little withered, but she was not slurring her words or anything.
Yeah, you
So it's
know
like,
when someone's on drugs, dude. Yeah.
yeah,
Which takes me to my next note. Wow, and they are just going to dismiss her because she looks homeless. Fuck you, movie, for this. It is
yeah,
so dumb. If it weren't for the Jeff Dahmer series, which shameless plug, that review is coming next.
oh sweet.
Um, I'd think that this was too fake, but again, I just saw it in something else, so I'm like, well, okay.
Well, I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm gonna put it in one of my scripts. I just thought of something because we're writers. What would have been so hilarious? because the whole time that they were dismissing her and thinking she was just some crazy homeless chick, okay, she just had like the Walking Dead put dirt over you in a little sweat. But all I had to say are three words: see the teeth. Look at her teeth. They were white. They were really clean. Why do movies do that? She looked perfect in the teeth. Okay, so I would have had
Help me,
her
I'm
say, "See,
homeless.
yeah, help me." Like, but she was like, she should have said, "I'm not a crackhead. See the teeth? They're
I
perfect,
got all
man.
of them. Yeah, yeah.
See the damn teeth." But nobody ever talks about that. Like, fuck up the teeth,
And to add the fact that her car is parked out in front of the house.
right?
These
Well,
cops are very
also,
stupid. It's like, dude, that's her. And she's
but
that's is that not your car?
but that's also a nitpick that I have come to think of the movie, because she was down there for 2 weeks. That's what it was insinuating. That it was like 2 or 3 weeks that she was down there being, the nipple sucker to the mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Mm-hmm.
weird creepy thing dropped
With
in
all the
there.
hair on it. Ugh.
Yeah, but why the hell was her teeth still good? Why were they still good? She should have had a little plaque or a little bad stuff
Oh
going
God,
on.
yeah, it should have been pretty rough.
Yeah,
Come to
she
think of
wasn't.
it.
She didn't have any good Colgate.
Mm. Yeah, and that's a good
Plot
point.
hole.
That's another massive plot hole. But as we continue, my next note is no way she's dead, and that's in reference to the very stupid idea
Mhm.
that Tess had to drive her Jeep into the house to crush the mom, and we got to see some of her superhuman Hills Have Eyes strength as she
Yes.
smashed the windshield with her bare hands, which again should have been a sign that she probably wasn't dead. If you have enough strength to do that with your lower body pinned, like if that's just shoulder, like you probably ain't dead. I'm just saying, like
No.
you ain't dying.
Got to double tap that
Um,
ass. And also one last big gripe I have about it is, okay, it's established over the top that she cares about people, right? Oh, he's in there, she said to the cops. He's in there, we got to help him, an innocent man's in there or whatever, right? Okay, she went down for Keith. He was brutally murdered. You know the circumstance or the consequences of what will happen. Just don't go there. You already saw a dude get brutally owned, annihilated. So you had a chance to leave multiple times. Get the
yep.
fuck out. Don't you want to film that documentary with the director? I thought
Yeah.
that that's what was the goal. Like,
Thought you
it's
were
so
smart.
funny.
Thought you were
Yeah,
smart character.
if I would have been writing that movie, I would have had her leave. Wouldn't that have been such an alienating moment if she would have left after Keith was murdered and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to stay with my director friend," and the whole thing turned into like a rom com, like Fish Out of Water. Oh, I'm staying at this mansion. Like,
I don't think
we're
this would
gonna
have gotten as much attention, or maybe it would have gotten a
no,
lot,
we're gonna
just not the
film the
good kind.
documentary now. Oh man, that house was crazy.
Yeah, remember that crazy house where it just turns into a How I Met Your Mother spinoff?
Exactly.
Um, and then so after the No Way She's Dead, then it goes back to Justin and Frank, and I said I had some issues with the zoom in on the pop gun because I could see the little orange thingy on there,
Hmm.
and I was just kind of like, don't zoom in on a gun if it's clearly a
It was,
fake gun. Just don't zoom in on
yeah.
it. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. Nobody asks you to do that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but
Um,
that's such a bush league
these are the
mistake.
things that my stupid brain does, where I'm just like, no, it's not. But again, I was already upset at this point,
I do
and
think that when they were in Bulgaria, that they were rushed because he
oh, that could have
just
been it too. They might have
just
been a lot stricter
yeah, with the
with the
rules and stuff.
rules there. But again,
And
not saying don't use a pop gun. I'm saying don't zoom in on it.
and if you ever want, if anybody's ever curious about this, they did a podcast. They would do a show, The Whitest Kids. It was Trevor Moore, R.I.P., who passed, and it was Zach Krager, and it was called Newsboys, and it was them talking about things and just like their own video podcast, whatever. And I watched some recently, and like from a year ago, and he was talking about filming. People were like asking in emails, like, "How's it going for your movie?" And that was before anybody knew about Barbarian. But he was in He was like talking about shooting in Bulgaria. So that's just, if anybody wants to deep dive, go to Newsboys on YouTube
There you
with
go.
the whitest kids you know people.
Nice.
Mhm.
And back into it. This is when Justin shot her. I said he shot her. Okay.
You shocked me.
And then I say, if they've already escaped, why isn't the movie over? And then, of
Because
course,
we got to
right
get more
before
kills.
I said, of course, she breaks in, and then Justin Long turns right back into a wiener. Because if that, I had another issue, and then my final note was, so he's the villain. So this was where we can go back into the where Justin had that whole, no, she's got to be okay. I need her to be okay, and we need to
Dare
go
I
somewhere.
say that he was a wiener the entire time, especially with Tess, because what I picked up from it was that he just wanted to fuck her. He was just trying to kind of groom and like, oh, I'm gonna help you just to like get with her because he's such a sleazy dude.
I
Maybe he
never
just wanted
picked
to
up on
grab her.
that because I didn't even think that I don't know if I'm in a Rambo basement tunnel with the Hills Have Eyes people. I'm the last thing I'm thinking about is sexual gratification. But again, that would have been
Well,
this character.
but it's not
Um,
fully
yeah,
sexual. It's a power dynamic. It's like, ooh, I saved you. I got you. I helped you.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, it could have. I mean, it also definitely he as soon as it was time to turn heel, he did it real quick. He gave
I
her the
tried to
old
save you.
Yeah, he gave her the old Marty Jannetty treatment and super kicked
Yeah.
her off a water tower, which was
He
very
don't need
stupid of
genetic.
them
Yeah.
running up. Yeah, he don't.
Well, and the only explanation they had is, shit. Oh, there's barbed wire on the fence. But is that the
So we gotta do
only
jump.
area
You gotta
that?
jump off. Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
also, if you remember, they showed both characters coming in under a hole in the fence
that's
that the
what. So
homeless
why did
guy
they?
pulled up. So all they had to do was go find that hole.
Big
Or I
plot
don't
hole.
know, do the every dude or gal or anyone who's ever played a video game knows if you've ever have you not played a Resident Evil? All they had to
Right.
do was run around the water tower, go back where she had come from, and run out the goddamn hole,
That's it.
the Honda Civic sized
Never.
hole that this woman just blew into a wall. Go walk
I
out
mean,
that.
Scream even did it. Like we're on the phone. Didn't in the first one there was like, oh, what do you think? I'm just a clueless idiot that's just gonna run up the stairs. And then they finally, she does run
And
up
then
the
she
stairs.
does it.
So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they do it, and it's like, never go to higher ground
No,
on that
unless you're
show.
fighting Anakin.
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
need for it. Unless you're
Thank
in a
you. I was
duel.
hoping you'd say that.
I hate you. And then so Justin tries to say that, oh, I didn't even, I was going to try to save you. I didn't even mean to, you slipped and yada yada. And then we find out Mother, who unexpectedly, maybe a little bit, threw herself to save her baby, which was a
Yeah,
cool part of the
it
ending where
was
it's
a
like, oh shit, okay.
it
His
was a touching moment. But I will say, in my other viewing of that movie, that scene came across as really hokey and like people laughed at the visual of the mother. I think maybe they just laughed because it's so over the top of her jumping off a water tower.
Yeah, it's just like you gave her the Peter Parker treatment. Like
Hmm.
they straight up like Spider-Maned it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's usually who's doing the heroic grab, and so yeah, I could
yeah,
see that. And I thought I was interested to see how they were gonna put an end to it. So that wasn't how I had expected them to do it. So I appreciated that much at least, and
yeah,
then definitely to see Jay Long get the cool kill, with the character that you were very satisfied to be like, yes, dude, yep, finish this guy. That
yeah.
part was good, and then with the whole like it seemed that Tess was gonna die, and then that the mother was really sad about it, which was again didn't really make sense because everything this movie showed us was that she had captured and taken care of multiple people in this
Right.
situation. So it seemed
Which,
that she should have just let her baby die and gone
which,
on to the next one. Go ahead.
what? Oh, I just wanted to say, like you said, multiple people. I forgot to mention that there was one instance when AJ was going to the other room or going down the corridor, when he was being kind of slightly chased, you heard a scream of a man. And that definitely was not the old dude, Frank, because Frank could not say anything or talk at all. So I'm starting to think that were there other torture victims alive in there?
Well, that's
And I
possible. Yeah.
like not saying that Keith was still alive because he was brutalized, he was
Yeah.
owned, he was killed, but I'm saying that that opens up how many little other torture rooms are there? Because they didn't they didn't do anything in the movie to signify that this is the end of the road and this is the whole place. It could be anything, you know.
Yeah, that I mean, yeah, that much is true. Um,
It just depends on if they want to do sequels.
right. And so yeah, but and so the back to that um I couldn't understand why because you said maybe there was other people even in the dungeon. I kind of wrote it off as maybe it could have been, like you said, it was left open. I think it could have been Frank because he was not being honest about how, I think
Oh,
his whole thing, like I don't trust that he couldn't speak. I think he was playing Justin Long so he would bring his gun over to him. So
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
possible that he could have screamed, but again,
But
it could have been another captor. Shit, it could have been other children that
that's what I'm
that Frank
thinking.
had
Yeah.
had with other people. But
But
again, it just goes to me to say it doesn't make any sense that mother would be so upset to lose Tess that she would let Tess shoot her in the face. Now, I get it if maybe Tess was one of the first hostages to figure this out and play along for 2 weeks. So
well,
maybe this was her most beloved baby, but we're
maybe
we're talking about
maybe
a
that.
being that probably killed dozens of people. So it
But
just doesn't make sense. It just sounded like
well,
it seemed this sounds cool to do. Let's do this.
Well, the way I took it is that Mother the monster thing like didn't even know what a damn gun was. Because think about it, Frank didn't operate in guns. He operated in like maybe physical like hands combat, like raping and craziness. I mean, I don't
Oh.
maybe because that's how I
Hmm.
took that scene is like because remember like Tess had the
Yeah.
gun like aimed at her touching that crazy woman's face and she didn't react. She was just like, Mother. Eh. So like who knows? I mean, that
That's
was
fair.
literally a cell that was literally a cell dweller. A crazy, creepy they don't know.
You're right. That
No.
could that makes me your version works better for the movie than mine does. So I will take it because at least that way it makes sense. But even still,
Just
it
text Zach, bro.
it
He'll
went
tell you.
it went to um, an unfortunate and immediate post credit scene. Um,
Yeah. Which immediately reminded me of the battery, as we
yep,
said really quickly in part one,
in
which
part one,
if
which
if no one has watched the battery with Jeremy Gardner, watch that because they basically did the same thing because literally the scene only existed in Barbarian 2 signify, don't worry, she's alive.
mm-hmm, which was a very kind of what happened with the battery. Which again, if you haven't seen it, watch it and then come back and find the Critical podcast and listen
Mm-hmm.
to us talk about it. I'm sure we'll revisit that someday because
Yes.
it holds a very special place in our hearts. But that final scene, not one that I super love, even in that movie, and I definitely do not love it in Barbarian. I thought, even despite, and you just heard me read through a list of my gripes, despite all of that, I felt good about that ending for the 3 seconds that they had the directed by, and then
Zach Gregory, yeah.
it immediately went to her standing up, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
wow, you didn't even let me have that for 30 seconds. Like, you didn't even let me have it for a minute. It's one
I
thing to do post credit, but it's like it's not the movie isn't over just because you flash a directed by me scene and then keep the movie going. Like, I don't know, I didn't
That's
like it.
interesting. That's interesting. You make me think that maybe the studio had interference there because it was very quick that they went to that. You would think that they would at least play off a few seconds of suspense, not knowing what happened. Um, even if they would have had all the credits run, and then the post credit was just her walking with no "Be My Baby" cheeky old school music over it, just her walking alone down the street with no sounds or anything would have been really effective
Yeah, because
instead
it's
of the quick shot. Yeah.
yep, and I still think it could have been done with a way, in a way that might have left it open. Still, if you could have done it, and maybe yes, she's walking, but very slowly and painfully in the middle of the night in a bad part of I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I didn't think he needed any of it, but I
And they could have made it way better. They could have, like I said earlier, they
yes.
could have had the homeless man live. They could have had her live just like that she did, and then her walk down, and you just hear him go, "I told you she'd come out at night." Like, that would have been great. Like, because, and you can't say, well, that's not what they were going for, because they were going for humor. I mean, like I said, they did the "Be My Baby, Be My Little Baby" song, so
That's
they
true.
wanted that. Oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I want to fight Zach Krager about this
no, there
this
you
skit.
go. That
No, man.
well, that's that. I mean, you might not believe it, no, but we are pressing up upon the hour mark here.
Oh yeah,
So
maybe
we
we
should
should call it.
probably wrap this up. Do you have any final thoughts about the movie before I sign off?
Um, I I would say, even with all my gripes, if this movie, which this would probably not happen nowadays, but if it did come out with, like, a lot of special features and a commentary track, I would probably wait till it's on discount and just own the Blu-ray, because I would want to know more about what they were thinking, or what he was thinking, what went into making it. I do want to leave you with this. I did read an interview with Zach Krager where he said he originally started it out like it was going to be a short film script, and the whole first act was the end. So, like, when he was in the basement, you didn't know if he was luring her or anything. He
Mm.
said the original idea was he was going to make Keith the creepy dude, and it was just going to go the way that you would assume it would go. But he said it was so obvious, and that's the simple knee jerk, like, what you want to do. So he stopped when he was writing the script, and he was like, what could I do that's different? And then he was like, naked zombie woman, crazy incest woman kills him.
Yeah.
So, and then he said he had to, like, stop after he wrote that, and it was like dead, like, white page. He didn't know where to go. So he literally, like, was like, how can I do it from this point?
That's pretty cool. And I think that would be worth
Yeah.
looking into and learning more about.
Hmm.
Very, very interesting. And yeah, and I do look forward to seeing him get another shot at something. I
Yeah.
absolutely hope that he makes another horror movie.
I
Um,
think he will. I think he was saying he wants to do another horror. So we'll see.
and if he does, we'll be here to talk about it. So that will
Yeah.
put a wrap on this episode of Criticult. I'll be back very soon to talk to you about Dahmer. I've got a audio track coming, actually, multiple audio tracks coming. So commentaries come along if you want some not director's commentary to watch along with your favorite movie. And Noah and I are watching Smile next week, so I anticipate another podcast about that soon as well.
And I anticipate that that's going to be wildly different from Barbarian. A little bit.
Yeah, from something indie to like probably very studio, but also one of the more so from viral movie to viral horror marketing campaign. So
Right.
we're still gonna
We're still swimming in the same sea.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
until then, you've been great. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.